to Hollywood.
What's your dream?
Our first stop of the day was Descanso Gardens. As soon as we got in the gate, we were starving. The grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato bisque soup was just what we needed to fuel up for this adventure. The first garden that we visited was the Japanese garden. For over 50 years, the Japanese garden has been a favorite destination for park visitors with its Japanese-inspired architecture. The garden hosts many plants that originated in Asia, including mondo grass, flowering cherry trees, and Japanese maples, to name a few. The tea house was operated along with a gift shop by local restaurateur Robert Kawashima and his sister until 1982, when the new courtyard entrance and gift shop were built. As we continue down the path, the landscape began to change. We entered the ancient forest. This part of the garden is reserved for cycads, redwoods, tree ferns, and ginkgos. These types of plants have survived on planet Earth virtually unchanged since their time of the dinosaurs millions of years ago. In 1784, the first Spanish governor of California deeded this land to Corporal Jose Maria Verdugo for his loyal services. It remained in the Verdugo family until 1869. In 1937, the property was purchased by E. Manchester Brody, owner of the Los Angeles Illustrated Daily News. The property was a working ranch. He called it Rancho del Descanso. He built a 22-room, two-story mansion, as well as purchased more than 400 acres north of the property, giving the ranch access to mountain streams that continue to provide water to the gardens today. As we made our way above the house, trails zigzag about the hillside. Here we discovered Hope's Garden. Up here, we can see some amazing views of the San Bernardino mountain range, as well as a wide variety of olive trees. Descanso Gardens was quite the adventure. Growing up and living in Southern California for over 20 years, this was my first time ever visiting the gardens.
Kalamata olives are the best in the whole world.
the best. Kudos goes to Danette for seeking this beautiful garden out. After Descanso Gardens, it was finally time to see the Hollywood Walk of Fame. On our way to park, we drove past the Dolby Theater, home of the Oscars. On the corner to the left is the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum with a dinosaur coming out of the roof. As we turn the corner onto Hollywood Boulevard, we pass the El Capitan Theater that is owned and operated by the Walt Disney Company, the Hard Rock Cafe, and Grauman's Chinese Theater. Looking up the many flights of escalators taking us to ground level is mesmerizing. We walked up and down Hollywood Boulevard, checking out all the stars along the Hollywood Walk of Fame. We gazed at all the hand and foot imprints pressed into the concrete in the famous Grauman's Chinese Theater courtyard. The original Chinese Theater was commissioned following the success of nearby Grauman's Egyptian Theater, which opened in 1922. Both are in exotic revival style architecture. The opening of the Chinese in 1927 premiered Cecil B. DeMille's The King of Kings. It has since been the home to many premieres, including the 1977 launch of Star Wars, as well as 3 Academy Award ceremonies. In 2013, the theater partnered with IMAX, featuring one of the largest screens in North America with over 932 seats. Across from the Chinese is the El Capitan Theater, built in the early 1920s. The El Capitan Theater, that once hosted over 120 live theater productions in less than 1 decade, fell upon hard times in the 1930s with multiple name changes and owners. In the 1970s, the theater sat empty and in shambles. The owners, Pacific Theaters, assigned authority for the theater's facade to the Los Angeles Conservatory in exchange for tax credits. In the 1980s, Disney purchased a controlling stake in Pacific Theaters. They spent $14 million, equal to $48.2 million in today's currency, to do a complete renovation, restoring much of the original interior and exterior, as well as a restoration to its original name, El Capitan. The newly restored theater reopened in 1991 with the premiere of The Rocketeer. Most cities have a guitar or a saxophone player on the street corners. In LA, it's drums. As we were leaving the Walk of Fame, I couldn't help but notice a guy with his entire drum set out on the street. As we head to our next stop for the day, we passed by the very exclusive, members-only Magic Castle. What goes on in the Magic Castle, you ask? Magic shows. Who's there? Who knows? You know who does know? Members. As the Disney nut that I am, I really wanted to ride the merry-go-round that Walt Disney sat and watched his daughters ride over and over again as he dreamt of a park where parents could enjoy the rides with their children. It wasn't until 1955 that he opened the gates to Disneyland. But no rides today. Today, Griffith Park was being used for a filming of Blind Spotting on the Starz Network. Growing up in Los Angeles, I have seen a lot of productions being filmed. I even had the opportunity to work on a few. Seeing this brought back the memories. If you've never seen a production shoot before, you would be amazed at the amount of crew and infrastructure that follows a production.
Here we go. Lock it up, guys, and roll 2 cameras, please. Rolling.
Rolling.
Again, all eyes on Ashley.
We watched and talked a bit with the production assistant to get the scoop on what was being filmed. On screen, everything flows, but if you listen close, it is taped in small segments and repeated multiple times.
All right, and those in the background, guys, just move around, and you guys here in the foreground, you can shift a little bit because you guys are all live. Okay, here we go. Background. All eyes on Ashley, and action. And destroy. One more time. Destroy. Destroy, let's keep the ball down a little bit. And say it again. Try it one more time and drop the bottle. Yeah, can you block your face with it? Here we go, and action first. Okay, moving on to the next person. Everybody still eyes on Ashley. Leah's up next. Sounds good. Here we go, everybody still moving around again, watching, and action, Leah.
Alright, after leaving the set of Blind Spotting, we decided to head up into Griffith Park's old zoo, the old LA Zoo. Now it's all abandoned. A little bit of a climb up the hills, but you can go back into where all the cages were at and check them out. So we're going to do that right now. The Griffith Park Zoo, now known as the Old Los Angeles Zoo, opened in 1912. Despite attracting over 2 million visitors per year, the small zoo was continuously criticized as ugly, inadequate, poorly designed, and underfinanced. In 1958, the city passed an $8 million bond to build a new zoo. In 1966, Griffith Park Zoo closed, with all its animals transferred to the new zoo 2 miles away. The animal enclosure bars were removed, and the park left in ruins. But don't worry about the old zoo. Hollywood never lets anything go to waste. The old zoo has been used as a shooting location for numerous film and television projects like SWAT, Chips, Rush Hour, and The New Adventures of Wonder Woman, to name a few. By the looks of the enclosures, all I can say is I'm sure that the animals felt like they were released into the wild when they arrived at their new, spacious, master-planned home at the new Los Angeles Zoo. Making these videos for you all, I'm constantly walking around with a camera in my hand looking for that one shot that will wow you all. I'm reminded of an article I once read. The article takes place in the fall of 1966. Walt Disney had publicity photos taken at Disneyland Park. Joined by Mickey Mouse at Sleeping Beauty Castle in Old Engine No. 1 from the Main Street Fire Station. Walt was photographed by a former Disneyland chief photographer, Rene Bardot. Prior to his retirement, Rene told the Los Angeles Times, he said, "There's a little story. When I was shooting that particular picture, I had 12 shots in the camera and took 11 shots of Walt at different angles. Watching for his smile, watching to make sure Mickey was looking the right way, making sure the castle spires weren't hanging out of Mickey's ears. Anyway, I had shot 11 pictures, and I had said, 'Thank you, Walt, that is it.' He asked me if I were sure, and I told him I was. Then he told me, 'At the studio, we treat film like paper clips. You shoot, shoot, shoot all the film you need, because if it's not in the can, you will never have it.' So he asked me to shoot one more. So I shot one more, and Walt said, 'That's fine. Thank you, Rene.' And he walked away." This is picture number 12, one of the most famous pictures of Walt Disney with Mickey Mouse. It is also the last picture taken of Walt Disney. He passed away a couple months later. Many times in the beginning of this channel, we have missed an opportunity to get something on film. Not only is it frustrating, but we also are reminded to shoot, shoot, shoot. Because if it's not in the can, we will never have to share it with you all. Thank you all for watching. If you're enjoying the content, please give our videos a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.